Hello, YouTube viewers. I am back for another episode of Saleba Reads, except this is a little more complex because it was Saleba walks around somewhere, then thinks about a book you read 2 months ago and wanted to share a thought. So, a few months ago, I read a book called Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury, extremely famous dystopian novel about this man who's a firefighter, and his job as a firefighter is to burn books, because in this society, books were seen as an anathema, and people didn't want to deal with them. And I think it represented on a deeper level not wanting to deal with things that were not on the surface level, or things that did not provide instant gratification. And I think there are some key things to the book. I'm not going to try to give a long summary, but I think fixation on technology as a way of connecting with other people, even though it doesn't provide full fulfillment. That was something that happened. Fahrenheit 451, an intense sense of loneliness and almost depression from people who were considered upstanding citizens within the novel, as the novel continued to progress. And so I would say those were a couple of things that I thought were interesting. And the reason why this is coming full circle to my experience today is, I was out grabbing some lunch at a pretty popular hip new place that has, TVs and, lots of restaurants and all that. And, it was interesting because in my internal world, I was having a little bit of an emotional moment, feeling a little down, kind of a rainy day kind of vibe, And so I was feeling that, and then I walked in, and it was so interesting because, my first thought was like, oh, wow, everyone looks so, hip and confident and put together. I mean, no one else is going through the same emotional experience. And it's interesting because, on a deeper level, I feel like everyone has, bad days, Saturdays, all that stuff. But I feel like it's interesting that when I was in that space, in that emotion at the same time, there was a intensified feeling of loneliness, like as if, these public spaces are not typically places where we show our vulnerabilities. And so if we're feeling more vulnerable or feeling more sensitive or just introspective, then for me, sometimes it almost feels like those spaces can foster a deeper sense of loneliness, right? Because if we're feeling those, when we're in those emotional states, it's often really good to have someone, who you can talk to, either a friend, family, even if it's your therapist, to talk or work through some, or even journal or express it, paint a picture or whatever of what you're going through, and really feel and express the emotion, so you can move on. But, a lot of times, for me at least, when I've been in those situations and I wasn't in that mode of sharing, then it becomes hard because you're out in public and you're trying to keep a cool, face, because everyone else seems like, like they've got it going on, or they feel confident or whatever. But deep down, you're really struggling, and it affects the way, for me, it affected the way I interacted with others. And so it really made me think about it, because I know everyone experiences that. So it's almost like an illusion, like, of my brain combined with just the way that things, look. I feel like we have a society very focused on the image, how things look on the surface versus how things are actually. Oh my gosh. I read this really funny Twitter post that I think is very relevant to this. It was around Christmas time. So it's now January, but it was around Christmas time. And this person was very witty, and they said the Christmas tree is not, this is a, rough quote, but this Christmas tree is not the only thing that's all dressed up and all looking good and completely dead inside. And I feel like that's really kind of epitomizes what I'm talking about. It's like, it's almost like, if you could see the thought bubbles in people, you see all these different things people are thinking about: challenges, happiness, awesome stuff, but also challenges. And I feel like our society is very focused on the good, positive, strong, all that. And it's harder to process or even acknowledge those other sorts of feelings. And so I can imagine, all these people and all these thought bubbles, and me being like, I'm the only one. And then, imagining all these other people who have all their other challenges or are feeling fine, or, but it's not like just because there are challenges or emotional challenges doesn't make you instantly alone. But I feel like sometimes the way that things are presented or the way that we experience other people in different spaces can make us feel that way. And the reason why this is connected to Fahrenheit 451 is because there are characters who, are very much epitomize what the society groomed them from a young age to be, upstanding, all of this stuff, but deep down they were really suffering or in pain or just were depressed. And so it's just interesting that following all the rules and becoming successful does not, automatically provide someone internal peace or internal validation or positive warm feelings. And I think that, it just comes back to that classic quote, all that glitters ain't gold. And I think it's just something that made me think about that when I was walking around. So hope you have an awesome day. See you later.